Okay, we don't have much time, but I really want to take up Senator Omo on the issue about the National Assembly. Now, yes, the electoral amendment is actually quite commendable that they've done that, but I'm sorry, over the last 2 years, they've done more theatrics than actually doing bills, and I think that's really very important. As an organization, we've been campaigning on the National Assembly being more accountable and being more transparent. And when people say, yes, they're an arm of government, and why are we only focused on the legislature, the reason is very simple. The legislative arm of government has oversight functions over the executive. They are meant to check the executive, but those who come to equity must come with clean hands. For example, their budget. The National Assembly gets 115 billion naira, of which there is no account. There's no budget, there's no statement, no details at all. Number two, electronic voting. So you get people in chambers, all in favor say aye, all in favor say nay. I, as a constituent, do not know how my senator voted because there's no record of it. And that's completely unacceptable in this day and age, because then they can get away with voting in ways that do not align with the way their constituents send them there to vote. Then attendance. You work in a TV station, any short of either the Senate or the House of Rep, half the seats are empty, even more than half. Yes, some of them are on oversight functions, some of them might be ill for sake of argument. But where is the register they're supposed to sign in? We've requested for this through the FYF. They've refused to respond. Lastly, Honorable Jibrin, who you quoted, had this whole issue about budget padding. We've written petitions, we've written letters about information. How far has that investigation gone on? Yet they will summon people based on uniform or spend quickly between Dino's accusation and in 2 days, they had already sorted Dino out by a committee where Dino Melaye sits on as a member, found him not guilty. I mean, what are we talking about? So really, for me, that's not the issue. And then secondly, the point he made about the people that the president appointed. Yes, the president is 73, but he did run for an election, and he did know he was going to lead a country of 180 million people. That's not rocket science. But I'll take two ministers really quickly. Education. 3 girls have died at the federal government Queen's College in Lagos. I've not heard a peep from the Ministry of Education. You might correct me, maybe I made a mistake as well as you just did, but I haven't heard anything from the ministry. 3 girls cannot be dying in a school. The principal was transferred from Lagos to a school in Benin. She continues to be a principal. How is that showing that you care about the wards that she's in charge of? A teacher in Queen's College said it is not an epidemic because only 2 children died. How can a teacher say that and still have a job? That's a Minister of Education. Aviation. Before this Abuja closure, there were, ARIC, Aero, cancelled flights, non-refunding of people's monies, all those issues were there. Mr. Hadi has done nothing about it. There's no penalty. People are not getting their money back. So for me, if I even use those 2 ministers as an example, I'm sorry, I'll have to disagree with the senator. This is not, even forget the parties. I really don't care. I just need people who run for office to work in the interest of Nigerians, period.
Okay. Mr. Ogolugbo, there are a lot of issues that came up during the 2015 election, the electoral process now, and what has been done in the Senate to refine the electoral process, the issue of the card readers, the issue of the permanent voter card, the issue of electronic voting. The electronic voting, in a case in point, do we need an electronic voting process in Nigeria? Have we gone to that point? Have we grown to that point?
Oh, certainly. I ran for elections in 2003. Interestingly, then I was in the Alliance of Democracy. I ran, and I remember how terrible it was for me running for the elections, even though I came second for the House of Reps. If it was electronic voting, probably I would have made it to the House of Reps. We all know what rigging is like. We're all politicians. Let's not deny. You rig where you're popular. That's where you can only rig. And in the case of electronic voting, rigging would now be minimized in the sense that these votes will now be transmitted directly from the polling stations to collation centers and on to final collation centers. So we must commend the National Assembly for taking that bold step. I've looked very closely at the amendments that were done to the Electoral Act. Very key areas, just like Senator Omo-Agege pointed out, like the judgment which the Supreme Court was hamstrung because there was nothing to show that you could use card readers was clearly taken care of. But I must also go into members of the president's cabinet. Somebody is saying that the president is too old at 73. We must point that out to leaders. I would definitely not align myself with Jibrin in saying that, because of course after the president has come back, we can see he has looked a lot stronger. But it's obvious the president has surrounded himself with a lot of people who have turned themselves into the cabal that we are talking about. Why do I say this? A lot of the ministers, if you ask me, you are doing a series on the ministers. 75% of the ministers will score less than 20%. Look at the Ministry of Agriculture. For example, there is supposed to be diversification. Look at the Ministry of Mines and Power. Why do we like playing to the gallery? The most painful aspect is the Attorney General, who has turned himself into a lord and master. For example, look at the Chief Registrar of the Supreme Court, Saleh Gambo, and the Assistant Director of Finance, Riwanu Lawal. He filed a noli prosequi. For those who don't know what noli prosequi is, he discontinued the criminal trial for 2.2 billion naira after being accused. And in the case of Saraki, for example, he goes to court every day at the Code of Conduct Bureau, and he justifies it by saying that the Electoral Act of 2015 allows him to file noli prosequi for cases that have national interest. And yet the SGF, who he was supposed to have carried out an investigation on, he did not refer his case to the EFCC. Rather, he went on the technical grounds. So there are so many issues.
I'll allow you to continue, but we need to take this break. And when we return, a further probe into the situation of things, lessons from the 2015 elections. Join us again. Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us. It's 2 years. Some people will say, just like that. Yes, 2 years you all went to the polls to elect President Muhammadu Buhari as your president. And we are asking, what are the lessons from that election? As we close our thoughts now on the program for all of my guests from Abuja and Lagos. Let me start with you. Your closing thoughts, 2015, now, Buhari government, where are we?
Well, the truth about it is that as a government, they have failed in terms of economy. In terms of security, I would give a pass mark. He's done quite well in terms of security, but in terms of economy, in terms of corruption, we would have given him a very huge pass mark. But for the likes of the SGF, who still sits today as his secretary to government, I'm happy Professor Femi Odekunle, who is a member of his presidential committee against corruption, said in this studio that in a civilized climate, somebody like that should not be associated with a man of like Buhari, whose only mantra now, whose most important mantra is his integrity, which has still not been tainted.
Let me allow Yemi to come in. From the civil society point of view, your clamor for the 2015 election, the kind of atmosphere we saw, what lessons are major going forward now that we can say, considering the Buhari government and its performance?
I think people are going to go back to the polls in 2019 and vote and realize the power of their vote and vote again. We have 3 more elections between now and 2019. Unfortunately, we're already in election season because elections are less than 2 years away and we begin to see it. I hope we can still get some work done while people begin to position themselves for 2019. But I think from an electoral process point of view, I'm excited about the changes that have been made to the Electoral Act and the possibilities for the elections.
Senator Omo-Agege in our Abuja studio, when we wonder, are we going to be seeing less drama in the Halo chamber this time around going forward? Because a lot of people will say the political map of the National Assembly changed. Has the life and the realities of that assembly also changed in terms of what you're giving to Nigerians? Just in a few seconds.
Well, it depends on how you look at it. It depends on the context, in which you're looking at this. What you are saying is not what most of us are saying. As far as we are concerned, we're there to do our job. We're doing our job. I represent the people of Delta Central Senatorial District. I know what ails them. I try as best I can every day to bring to the fore what ails them. And I believe that is what most of the senators are equally doing. So all those theatrics you're seeing, well, people have different ways of communicating. I may not communicate in exactly the same way as a senator from Kogi or a senator from Bayelsa may communicate. Those are the things you look at, you call theatrics.
Let's close the program with the thoughts from Mr. Femi Adesina. 2 years on, when Nigerians gave the mandates to your principal, President Muhammadu Buhari, do you think if the president goes to the poll today, he can win an election?
Yes.
Well, that will depend on Nigerians. But if you ask me as an individual, I'll say yes, the president can win and win and win again. Then I would like to disagree with Ken, who said the government has failed in the area of economy. You don't judge a government that has a 4-year mandate. You don't judge them close to 2 years. No, this government has till 2019 to do the job it has to do, and that job will be done concerning the Nigerian economy.
Many thanks, Mr. Femi Adesina, spokesperson to President Muhammadu Buhari, Senator of the Omo-Agege, the man who moved the motion for the amendment of the Electoral Act and the National Assembly. Ken Okoligbo in Lagos here, and Yemi Adamolekum. Thank you so much, gentlemen and lady, for being part of the show. We have just reappraised the 2015 general election atmosphere, and when you gave your voice for that man who currently rules Nigeria, it is then the onus lies on you to know that in another 2 years or so, you will be using similar power to elect who you want. The power is in your hands as a voter. And thanks for being there for me on the show today. And on behalf of the crew, I'm Sean Kimale. Bye for now.